Mr. Rich Wellington, welcome and thank you for jumping on the Remote Revolution show today, man.
Hello!
Yeah, excited to have you on and do a good recording with you and for being on part of our team. It's going to be exciting to help you share your story and listen to what you've got going on in your background. But Rich, for all the viewers, can you share a bit about your story, where you started in the world of fitness and business? Because it's quite a good one.
Fucking hell. We talked about this last time, didn't we? How far do we want to go back? Do you want me to just skim over everything again?
Yeah, give us the overview, because where you started from was really interesting. How you actually started off in that entrepreneurial space with the computers, with your family business. Yeah, share that with the guys.
Got it. So I grew up in a house where, like a fatherless household, basically, and we were poverty stricken. Lived in houses where, we had fucking snails and rats and all stuff like that. So I think once we got through that, and we actually moved to the town that I've just moved back to. We moved to Brid, and we ended up moving in with my grandma, and because my granddad had died, so we all ended up clubbing into getting a 3-story house together, and she had the bottom floor and we had the middle floor and stuff. And we ended up creating a computer business that had a design studio attached to it, and that started from my mum. Basically, she was working at a nursery where my little brother was going. She designed a flyer for them one day because no one else was fucking doing it. One of the fathers picked up on the flyer design and said, "Who's doing your fucking design? I want someone to do mine," basically. And everyone pointed at my mum, and that was my mum's first customer. And then we used to have people coming around to the house for ink cartridges and things like that, and design and print work and stuff. And basically they ended up taking up the whole house. And then we moved the business from the house into a huge shop in Brid. And then that escalated to another bigger shop in Brid. And we opened up another shop in Driffield. And before you know it, I was 15 leaving school, basically managing one of the shops for my parents. So I grew up around this really fast growing business where I was just watching my mum, my dad, and all the other people, because we had it was like a little family essentially. And even the people that worked for us, it was all quite tight knit because everyone lived in the same town or villages. And I was just watching everybody, from being 11, 12 years old, how they were communicating with people. We talk about serving now. I serve my clients. It's I was doing that over the counter. Anywhere you go, you're being served upon, or you can be serving somebody else. So it was a marvel. It was an absolute marvel. And I used to come home from school on a night time and go to the shop in Brid, and I used to take my uniform jumper off, and I used to just go and help serve in the shop, help answer people's questions, about printers and computers and how they could get stuff fixed. And hey, have you considered this? Sell them a graphics card at the same time, and and things like that. So that was the beginnings, if you like. And then obviously that escalated even more when I left school. Mum and Dad just said, "What are you going to do?" And I was kind of presumed I was going to work for you guys. And they're like, "Well, we're opening up a shop in Driffield. Do you want to just fucking run it? We'll bring a couple of staff in, and you basically just manage them just the same way that you have been at the other shop." And I was like, fucking yes. Which I think they maybe did a little bit prematurely, in all honesty, because when my teachers were talking to me about coming in and doing my GCSE exams, I was like, fuck GCSEs, I've got a job. I get paid £300 a week and I'm 14 years old. Screw you guys. Because at the same time, my mum and dad used to drop me off in Brid and Drift to do call-outs for local businesses and residential accounts as well, where I used to just come in and see either Mrs. Smith and fix her digital camera, get her photographs off, show her how to print, or I'd be going in and setting networks up in local businesses as well. So I used to get a percentage of that call-out charge when I was 14, 15. So I was coining it. I was making, a fuck ton of money because I was just concentrating on that side of things when I was really young. And then I came out from underneath the family wing after a few years because I realised unless my mum and dad were going to step down from doing what they were doing unless we opened up another shop in like the next local town. There was nowhere for me to really like grow or get like a fuckload more experience from. So my mum actually helped me find like a sales job. So I went and then worked for they actually bought out Arriva, Northgate Vehicle Sales. So I went and worked for Northgate Vehicle Sales, selling cars and vans and stuff like that, which was okay. It was all right. And the major incentive for me at the time, they gave me a base salary and they were like, oh, here's the commission. So every time you sell a van and you put insurance on there and sell them mats and all this other shit, if we board out the back of the van and stuff, you get X amount of this. So I was like, really? This is so fucking easy. How easy is that? Like I was selling to locals again, just like I was doing in the shop. So I just went in with that wholesome, just being myself, you know, sort of attitude. Not really classing myself as a salesperson, you know, and good success, you know, selling cars and vans. But there was a lot of pushing from above, like onto the lowly sales guys like myself. Like you've got to sell insurance to little old Mrs. Smith. You've got to sell her fucking car mats and stuff, even if, you know, I didn't feel like she needed it, which wasn't what we used to do. Obviously, in the family business, we gave people what they genuinely needed and wanted. So I ended up leaving that, went and back worked for my neighbour, funnily enough. He had a business where he was importing and exporting specialist woods that were built into huge homes, like 2- and 3-story log cabin homes. And we used to put like the internal walls in, run the electrics in there, the plumbing, the full lot basically. So we used to like, you know, sketch and map out like a dream home for somebody, and we'd either install it in the UK or, you know, ship it back out somewhere in Europe. That was pretty interesting. But again, a different dynamic, because I was running a workshop of like joiners and labourers and, you know, foreign guys and girls. So, and I was only 18, 19 at that point. So again, I had to like be quite authoritative because I was looking after joiners that were like over twice my age. Why the fuck should we listen to you? You know, and all that sort of stuff. So that gave me an opportunity to be, you know, more of a leader, if you like. And at the same time as doing that, I was also working on the doors. So I was doing like security evenings and things like that on a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. And at the time, you didn't have to have a door badge or anything like that. This is like back in the day when everything was like unlicensed, and, you know, some of the dirty door guys used to take people around the back and like duff them up and all that sort of shit. And that was really great money. So again, I was making, you know, plenty of money from doing what I was doing. But when I really sat back and reflected on what I wanted more recognition for like my intelligence. You know, I wanted that like significance, you know. And because I'd left school quite early, I didn't have any qualifications. So I like started looking around basically, like what can I do to fill that gap? And I was really great at IT, and I had like loads of knowledge just like unforced, just from watching stuff, you know, unfurl from when I was little. So I started looking at the military. So I was like, I don't have a lot of structure right now. You know, I was just like half-assed in the gym a little bit, you know, not really looking after my health properly. I was staying up late because I was working the doors, and then I was like trying to do my best, you know, through my day job. And I was like, I don't have a lot of structure. I really want to get super fit, and I want to get a load of qualifications. So I looked at the Royal Air Force, and I went across the Hull just to inquire. And I walked out having like signed up for the fitness test and all this other stuff. So that gave me some great pressure. So I applied like the middle of August, like 2008. I think it was 2008. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 2008, 2007, something like that. Anyway. And then I was in and attested by the 31st of October. So basically I applied and just went, yeah, I'm all in. Just went all in, got my fucking fitness up, you know, shaved my head. Literally, I just stood in the fucking kitchen, bought some clippers, went, right, I'm all in on this. I'm a soldier now, bang. Just took my fucking hair off. Because I'd grown up with Arnold Schwarzenegger and all stuff like that, you know. So I obviously had stuff in my wardrobe I was pulling down, like just dressing up like I was Commando. And I went to do IT intelligence, and it was based on the premise that I was going to go through being an IT intelligence guy. I was going to specialize in above secret and like top secret and above basically, and get a DV clearance, which is developed vetted, and work within this really niche group of individuals that only get to see this specialist information. And I knew I had a great memory as well, but I was going to like use that as my trump card as I moved through the training. Went to Halton, went through basic training, absolutely fucking loved it. A real strong turning point for me actually was when I was going through basic, and maybe some other guys and girls have been through this as well. I think pretty much everyone does. I was about 2 weeks in, and they'd just shown us all these videos of like people getting blown up, right? Like getting shot, and like they're showing us like fucking statistics of people dying. And I think it's a scare tactic basically. To like, right, if you're fucking too scared beyond this point, you're better off leaving. But they don't let you actually leave until you've done 4 weeks, right? So you've got to commit to that first 4 weeks, and then you can make room where like all your civvy stuff went. I was on the phone to my mum, like, oh, fucking hell, what am I doing? I've signed up for war. And she just went, you're going to stay there and you're going to stick it out. You're going to do exactly what you fucking said you were going to do. And I was like, oh, fuck. My mum ain't coming to rescue me this time. Shit. So I was like, and because I didn't grow up with, any like fixed men in my life, that's when I had to become like my own man. And when I look back on that point, I was like, yeah, that's when I had to become Tank, basically. And that became my nickname after that week. So we did this week where you have to casualty evacuation people across a field. You have to like drag them. And because I'm fairly big and I've always weighed quite a lot. I'm not saying I'm like mega fit or like the strongest by any means, but you can use your weight. Like James, you fucking played rugby plenty. You know this, right? So casualty evacuation came, and I was like, okay, I was like running with 2 guys, like a guy in each hand, just fucking running across the field. And one of the fucking corporals, it was a Royal Air Force Regiment guy, went, your name's Tank from now on. And I was like, this was like pretty much like the day after, I'd been on the phone crying to my mum, and that was that. And then I kind of got seen as someone who should be looked up to and be deemed as a leader. And I just kind of stepped into that role rather than being like scared of what was going on around me and what could happen. Then I became the person that basically just picked everybody up, whether it was physically, psychologically, or anything like that. I ended up getting a lot of awards, going through basic training, a lot of recommendations. And then when I went through my phase 2 training, which was at RAF Cosford, #1 radio school, and basically #1 radio school looks like the Death Star. That's what everyone used to call it. And it was just like four or 5 floors of just amazing technology, and all the best, uni speakers and things like that used to come and basically teach us all about everything you can imagine, like how to fix a satellite in outer space, how to fucking hack someone's computer through their fucking monitor, fucking loads of cool shit, man. So I spent like just over a year there. It's like one of the longest trade trainings in the whole of the military. And again, got a load of awards, and I've got like little trophies and stuff like that. And so that was a real big part of my life where I learned to be very like assertive about what I did. And I realized that when you were scheduled, I guess this is like, quite a lot of what I teach people now, like when you've got a real strict schedule and then you're alongside other people that are like going after the same thing, you can achieve so fucking much in like a real short space of time. Like I'm Microsoft certified up to the eyeballs, like I went all over the fucking UK doing all sorts of shit in the space of like a year and a half. So from joining basic training through to finishing trade training, I used to come back, to like see friends. I was like, oh, what you been up to? Oh, now same old shit. I was like, fuck, I'm really gonna have to like separate myself from this, and I was only in my early 20s at that point. So that was when I started to realize that, those that move forwards and personally develop are just like they're having to separate themselves from the norms of what goes on, and particularly in Yorkshire. And George, you know this. It's a fairly slow way of living in Yorkshire. Like Leeds, obviously a bit quicker, and then as you move down the country and into some of the cities, and particularly in London, obviously that's mega fast. But out here in like the little villages and towns, like market towns, it's like, people just go through 20 years of life not really moving forward. So that was a real eye opener for me. Anyway, I left the Air Force after a short while because I lost that ability to be able to do stuff that I wanted to be able to do. And as well, my mum went through a divorce with my stepdad, and that kind of broke me a little bit too. And I felt like I wanted to support her. So I ended up leaving. But before I left, and I'd always been running something on the side, no surprise. So even when I was in the RAF, I was like running little businesses and, like little side hustles and stuff like that. So I had a medical supplies business. I got that rolling properly. We were importing and exporting to like third world countries to support vaccinations and things like that. So that was quite important to me at that point anyway, because I'd seen a lot of that while I was in the Air Force. But realised and had a bit of a self-reflection one day. I know I've spoken to you guys about this before. Like I was sat at my desk, and I had the cat on my lap, and I only had my boxers on, and I'd pretty much done that like for 2 weeks solid. And I kind of caught myself in the mirror or in the reflection of the laptop or something. I was like, shit, you need to do something different. This ain't good. Like the highlight of my day sometimes was like talking to the fucking postman. And even you could see him like backing away from the fucking door, like, oh fuck, why do I have to come to this guy's house? And even like Jehovah's Witnesses used to come knocking, and they never knocked after the first time because I basically had them sat down with me having cups of tea and coffee for like 2 hours, asking about the meaning of life and stuff. And at the time, I was raw vegan, so I was all just like fucking pieced out on like juice cleanses and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite funny. I then transitioned back into because I was like, when I left the RAF, I stopped eating meat, went on a load of juice cleanses, followed like Jason Vale's juice cleanses, went raw vegan, and I was like in the depths of like hardcore health, like feeling amazing, looking ripped as hell, living off fucking carrots and all that sort of shit. And I was like, I can probably use this. So I started like setting up little fitness things and like looking to train people and whatever else. I ended up working for the local council in their swimming pools and their gyms. I ended up running and coordinating like how all the leisure centres ran the swimming pools and things like that. Ended up looking after the customer service side of things and basically showing how the grumpy people on the desks, like how to actually communicate properly, with all the locals. That's £3 for a swim. Smile, Julie. You're miserable. Obviously in my own sort of way. And I helped them do that. And I was so fortunate, in fact, because the CEO of the company, or who was running, the leisure centres, was actually an ex-Royal Marine. So he and he was, obviously a lot older. He's in like his 50s. But when we did the interview, he was like, you're going to be my spy. Basically, you're going to be my spy because I can fucking trust you. And he helped me build up like a lot of experience of watching how, because he like sent me down to Sheffield. He just like sent me down to Sheffield because he knew the manager who was running, what's the real big place in Sheffield? What's the massive place, the massive swimming pool with all the fitness stuff? It's like the biggest one in Sheffield. Anyway, he'd like trained him as well. And he sent me down there and he's like, I'm going to show you how to run a fucking huge operation, and how it runs and how you fucking charge people and how you look after them and all this sort of stuff. And I didn't realise what he was doing at the time. I was obviously going through it and being really grateful. And then it was a council-run thing and they couldn't afford to keep running the fucking swimming pools or whatever in the local area. So I ended up bailing shit. And I started running fitness classes because that's what I wanted to do. And I was already kind of doing for the council. So I started up a fitness business, RW, Fitness and Nutrition, naturally, richfit.co.uk. Yeah, I had a little website. I was doing fucking 5 blogs a day. Fucking, come on, give me some fucking customers. £2.75 a class I was charging. £2.75 a class for an hour of my time. And people used to come early for about 15 minutes and stay for like 15 minutes afterwards because I was just like over delivering like crazy. But that actually worked in the beginning, not charging hardly anything. I built up a huge customer base and I went into cahoots with a guy that had just bought one of the gyms in Malton. and he was basically looking for someone to fill space and pay him rent and all that sort of stuff. And we ended up helping each other, basically. You know, we used to go around the local town with flyers. So obviously I used my design and all, you know, my background and all of that. I said, right, let's fucking design some flyers up. And we used to go into all the places where I thought there'd be customers. So we used to go into the nail bars and, you know, where ladies had their hair done, you know, and things like that. And just having general conversations. We weren't trying to sell anything. We're just like, you know, handing flyers out. And we just used to go around in like personal trainer with our hoodies and our shorts on. I used to wear tightest t-shirt I could because I was fucking ripped at the time. I've got a bit of a dad bod now, but I was shredded. So I used to like proper flex my pecs, like, it's a flyer. It used to work though. It was great. And over time, you know, I just increased prices, £2.75 to like £3.50. Then I was charging like £5 a class, £6 a class. And then I got to a maximal point basically where I was working from like 5 in the morning, you know, until sort of 9, 10 o'clock at night, you know, 5, 6 days a week, which I loved, but I didn't actually have a life outside of the gym. Basically, the gym was my life, and that worked okay because we were like best friends. You know, 3 or 4 of us that ran it. But yeah, I realised that I'd reached that maximal point, and that's when I looked out. I literally Googled like fitness business coach. First person that came up was, you know, Simon Lovell, simonlovell.com. I started looking like, who's this Simon Lovell guy? I think at the time he'd like done testimonials for not ClickFunnels. What's the other one? What was the
lead pages,
something like that. Yeah, and I saw his testimonial. He was like sat outside on his glass table, and he was like this. I was like, sweet. I need someone that knows about marketing. Like I'm not, you know, like I know like how to talk to people once they're in, like the sales portion. I guess I'm all right at, but how do you attract people? You know, I didn't know how to do all of that. So anyway, got on the phone with one of his guys, saw all the testimonials and all that sort of good stuff, and I was like, dude, you don't need to sell me. Like, just tell me how much it is. I'm going to fucking buy it. So I spent like, I think it was about £4,000 at the time, and just learned how to structure like a high ticket fitness business, as it's called now. Basically just charge people for a result rather than just charging like per class, you know, where I was just getting let down all the time. And just made a lot of money, in all honesty, did make a lot of money. But also the quality of client changed. You know, I moved from having these like people that I could make, you know, once or twice a week maybe, to having people that were like disciples. And I hate using the word like cult, but it was almost a bit like, do you know what I mean? People just wanted everything that I fucking did, no matter what. I like brought out supplements, like white label supplements, and everybody just fucking bought the supplements. And I was like, this is crazy. This is amazing, you know? Everyone wanted all the programs I was selling, all the fucking recipe books. Everyone wanted to come to like the local fields and do the extra workouts on a weekend, you know, run around in the mud and all that sort of shit. So yeah, it was exciting. It was really exciting. But the thing that I realized through all of it was I wasn't helping the core of what was wrong with people, you know? And it wasn't fulfilling me either. Like what I really wanted to do was what I was doing from when I was like 10, 11 years old, which is like selling a solution, you know, to like a problem, and then people can like carry on through their journey, whatever that was, rather than helping somebody like lose weight and then watching them go and binge and ruin themselves again and have to come back to me. It's like a repetitive cycle. I didn't want to be doing that, you know? So I ended up getting rid of the fitness business, and I ended up going and working for Simon for a short time. Well, not should I say a short time, it was like 12, 13 months. And I ended up becoming with another guy called John Castor. We ended up becoming like his sales guys, and we ended up coaching everybody inside the programs and stuff. And I fucking loved it. Loved it. I just loved the environment. I loved what we were doing, you know, for the Fit Pros. And I guess that's where I started to like hone in on like, right, I do want to work online. But then there was still like in-person elements, you know, about what we did as well. And I was like, oh, cool, this is amazing. This is how you run like, you know, the online stuff. I'd got plenty of experience in running, you know, brick and mortar businesses. So that really opened my eyes, and I started to see like the transition. And then, yeah, since then, basically, you know, been through some rough patches just like everybody, you know, some major ups and downs, you know, fucking making money, being in debt, all that sort of shit, you know, having cars that you can't really fucking afford, being in houses that you can't fucking afford. You know, who hasn't been in that situation? You know, if you haven't, you're probably fucking lying. Yeah, and got to the position now where, you know, I get to work with, you know, guys like you. And I remember one of our first, you know, conversations when we were talking about doing stuff together. I was just like, you know, I need like a real raw, honest, you know, baseline, you know. And that was very much like with your values as well. And I guess that's what I say to everybody else. Like, if you're gonna, you know, go into business with people, like, do they align with, you know, your energy and, you know, what you stand for and stuff. So I'm very grateful, like, while I'm talking to you guys today, that, you know, along with like guys like, you know, Randall Grizzle, you know, who worked for Russell Brunson for a lot of years, you know, selling Frank Kern's programs, selling all Russell Brunson stuff. You know, I've got to work with him, you know, and work with like some of Sam Ovens' mastermind, you know, guys and girls. And like, only like a year or two ago, I was like, oh my God, like idolizing these people. And now they're like, you know, invite me over for fucking barbecues. And if I lived in America, obviously I'd go for a barbecue every weekend. But, you know, I don't. I live in Brid, all right? I live in Brid. So come and get rid of the dog shit off our beaches. But, yeah, so that kind of brings us up to today. And I'm in the process now of kind of coming from behind the curtains of working inside a lot of other businesses, you know, and being their high-level communicator, salesperson, onboarder, enrollment specialist, you know, coach, and you know, bringing Rich Wellington, you know, .com into the limelight, if you like. And we're just in the process of. So actually, next week we're going to be starting to roll out, you know, people to come into our own group coaching program that's focused basically on sales, you know, and how to communicate beautifully, you know, with your clients and take them through a transformative process, you know, so they feel really awesome about, you know, coming to join you, and there's no real actual sell involved with what you're doing. So yeah, it's all very exciting.
Awesome, man. So Rich, a gazillion things we could go into, and I actually almost want to start with how diverse things have been for you, because you've done so many different things and you've been exposed to so many different environments. How do you feel that has helped when it comes to actually learning how to sell, dealing with so many different people? And also, you talked, just the second part of this question as well, is you talked about, you know, the van sale, some of it wasn't quite ethical. You've done some other things that felt better. What are the goods and bads that you've seen around selling and the mindset of it over like the 10, 15 years that you've been exposed to it?
Goods and bads. Just honesty, like real raw honesty with people. And when I say honesty, there's conversations you have to have with people at times. And I'm referring to like the fitness industry and even other industries as well in their own sort of take. But in the fitness industry, when we talk about honesty, yeah, you're overweight, but then there's like the finding out of why. You know, you've got to go enough levels deep in order to help that person understand why they keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. And that is honesty. That is something that, yeah, maybe their loved ones around them are telling them, hey, you probably need to lose weight. But you never have that same level of communication, you know, with, you know, a mother, a father, a brother, a sister or whatever, or even, you know, a partner, or even like someone you fucking make love to. You know, you don't have that same, like I'm talking to a stranger here, so there's going to be no judgment. You know, that's the ability you have as a trainer, a coach, you know, transformation coach, however you know, label yourself. That's the ability that you have to be able to just draw upon that power and just be like, fuck, dude, like, why'd you keep putting 10 pounds on every fucking 6 months? Like, what is it that you keep doing? You're stuck in some sort of fucking loop. Break it, you know? Whereas what I saw in some other industries, like I'll use the, you know, car sales as an example, we were basically just looking at those people like numbers. So it didn't matter about that individual's unique situation. Like when I worked for my family, I would like stand over the counter and I'd spend the amount of time that it required, you know, to find out about that person. So like 2 of these, 1 of these. two of these, one of these. I remember my stepdad used to say that to me all the time. He was in the police force. He had been in for years. And I used to look up to him for that side of things, because I used to see how all the local people, he used to know everybody in the local towns. So I used to look up to him massively. I used to watch how he talked to people and stuff. And he said very little. Said very fucking little. He was always listening and watching, what they were doing, what their body language was at, and things like that. So I really took that on board, for how he was selling, in the shop and stuff. He just, he got to the point and was just like honest with people. He was like, you don't want to buy that. That's shit. Like, honestly, you don't need to buy that, do you? Like, come and let me show you what you do need to be buying, and they explain the reasons behind it and say, so what would you like to do? And he'd put them into a closed loop, basically. And I don't even think he realised he was doing it. I think it was just something he got really good at from being in the police force and stuff. So just honesty. Just honesty with people. We couldn't be dishonest with people in the family business, right? Because some of these people we're living next door to, right? And then, literally our next door neighbours, who I then went and worked for later on, we'd be selling them stuff from our shop and things like that. So we couldn't come back to our own dinner table and be like, belly laughing because we ripped people off. It wasn't done. It was wholesome. When you think about wholesome, you think about organic signs and green and things like that. That was very much, how we operated. If people didn't need fucking stuff that we sold, we used to tell them. I want this fucking graphics card. What game do you play? I don't play games. We don't need that graphics card. Guy next door said I needed it. Nah, you don't need a graphics card, dude. Go away. You've got good enough graphics. We could have sold them a 500 quid graphics card. But we never used to do it. So just honesty. From boiling it down, but I just wanted to give you context of what I'd experienced as honesty. Like, honesty is at the core of all of it, And because there's so many people going online now as well, and you get bombarded with adverts and email campaigns and all this sort of stuff. So it's very difficult unless you get into somebody's space to be able to witness them. My advice would just be just be yourself. Don't dress it up. Don't dress it up and get led down a path of believing you have to be a certain way or a certain someone. Because the further you get away from being yourself, the more stress it causes. It is energy draining being somebody else and being something that you're not. If I could tell you from experience, So yeah, that's my long answer.
Yeah, and a lot of people have difficulty being fully honest with someone when it might hurt their feelings, right? And how do you overcome that? How would you help a personal trainer, a coach, whatever it is? How would you help them overcome that part of themselves? Because it's not about the other person; it's really about themselves, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. The focus isn't the coach. And I was actually writing a bit of content to be proud of me. Writing some sales fails, that people go through. When I put it, the need for approval, right? It's right at the top of the list on these sales fails. The need for approval. So a lot of coaches go into situations where they need to be honest, but then they're scared because that person might hang up on them. They might just fucking walk out. They might just go, fuck you. How do you dare you say that to me? But I always used to see that if that did ever happen as a win, because you've obviously broken through part of whatever that facade is that person's created to help them realise, fucking hell, this guy's not going to take no shit. I need to get out of this situation as quickly as possible, because he's going to see me for who I really am. And emotional involvement is the second thing that I put on the bit of paper. As people get far too emotionally involved with, whether someone again approves them, for who they are. So I think that what coaches need to understand, trainers, and such, is that unless you know then how to pick someone up from that, because it's okay being honest with someone, Dave, you're fat because you eat fucking 2 tubes of hobnobs every night, dude, and you smashing, 4 tins of Stella. You get whatever that realization might be. Unfortunately, if a trainer isn't experienced or understands then how to like pick someone up from that and how to then show them how to get out of it, that's what scares trainers, I think, is the lack of experience or understanding, the lack of confidence, I guess, to then take someone through the actual transformation. It's all right putting someone down or showing them the truth, but if you just fucking leave them down at the bottom, you like say people all the time, don't leave people on the ledge. Don't leave them on a fucking ledge. You've got to, like, even if you can't actually give them something, like in terms of like your program or your coaching, at least be nice to that fucking person and like talk them off the ledge and at least send them down a different path that can help them. So yeah, I think there's a degree of experience that's required. I think we're all conditioned to try and please people, so we get that approval that, this is a good guy. Yeah, he's a fucking good guy. But all you're doing is you're keeping that person inside of their poisonous loop. I used this analogy the other day where like someone just couldn't get into their head like why we needed to like get someone emotionally involved in their transformation. And I was like, Steve Irwin, Crocodile Dundee. You know those guys, right? Yeah, fucking love those guys. Awesome, yeah. Steve Irwin died though, right? Yeah. Right. If Steve Irwin saw somebody just been bitten by a snake and they were going to die from the poison, he would go over there and fucking suck that venom out. Right? He would fucking suck that venom out of that person. Spit it out. Because otherwise, then that's basically like the showing of, if that person carries on in that loop and that destructive pattern, whatever they're going through, like until you extract the poison, they're just going to carry on. They're going to die, basically. And a lot of society's in that fucking little loop, of not really knowing where they're at and all that sort of stuff. And we level up as we, personally develop ourselves. Spit it out. Now what? You've not got the poison anymore, but that poison will go back in unless you show them, don't walk over that grass again, because that's where all the fucking snakes are. You're going to keep getting bitten, you idiot. There's the truth. You draw the curtains back, or they've maybe had a blindfold on trying to walk across this fucking minefield of poisonous snakes and tarantulas. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes on, with coaches. I think a lot of it ends up coming down to their own personal take on how people should be treated and the level of confidence, and then, like if they've got people around them supporting them,
So, Rich, one of the things you do coach is high ticket selling. And I think a lot of people in the industry stray away from it because they have this belief that it is, like we spoke about earlier, like the ethical side of selling. They think it's dirty. They think it's dishonest to sell high ticket programs. Where do you sort of stand with this, and how do we get around this? Because this is a mental thing. I personally don't think it is, because I've been in there long enough, and I know that typically when you pay a lot of money for something, you follow it through. Like, we know that. But how do we address that mindset where people are struggling to increase their prices because it might be underlying saying, no, it's wrong for me to do that. I have to push someone into a state of pain. I'm not doing that. That's wrong. It's wrong. How do we approach that?
Got it. So, I mean, I wouldn't. So when people talk about like high ticket and stuff, they immediately think they can just whack like a high price on something. Right?
And it's the same product.
Like, yeah, it's the same thing. And I'm just like, you can't do that, right? So I know one of the things that, you guys take people through is like the Meecham process to refine, that market. Because when you're positioned as a generalist, you're not going to be able to charge higher prices, unfortunately. And if you're just solving lots and lots of fucking problems, like a GP sits at his desk Monday to fucking Saturday, 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. One appointment might be a 5-year-old that's got diarrhea. The next appointment might be a 75-year-old woman who's got a broken hip. Now, I'm not saying that the GP's work isn't great. It's beyond awesome. But the level of thanks that they get in terms of salary and in terms of like thank you cards on their desk from their patients, non-existent. right? And they're stuck in a fixed place. So the next thing the GP has to decide on is, do I just stay here earning, I don't know, 70 to 100 grand a fucking year or whatever it is? Cool. Pretty decent life in terms of salary. Or do I specialise? Right? And do I just go to solving like one unique problem? And then what happens is, because they go and specialise, it's just like in the military as well. Same thing. You start off as a lowly soldier, and then you specialise and you earn more money, you gain more respect, and you get more thanks. Right? Like your SAS guys. They end up fine-tuning to the point of where they're going in to do a very fucking specific job, and they maybe only do, 2 or 3 a month of those specialist jobs, but they get a fuck ton of thanks. They're the ones that get featured in the fucking paper. Same as the brain surgeons, right? GP to brain surgeon. All of a sudden you're positioned as an expert. You might do 2 or 3 surgeries, a week or a month. You get paid 20 to 30 times more, right? If someone worked on my brain, right? Someone worked on my brain, fucking fixed it so I could taste coffee again. I'd buy the dude a car. I'd be like, it's a fucking car, dude. Fucking sweet. GPs that are fixing problems day in, day out, do they get boxes of chocolates? Do they get thank you cards? Maybe some of them do, because, they're awesome at what they do and they've got that personality about them. But they're so run down with the amount of clients that they've got, and they're generalising so much that no one really knows what they're specialising in. So they never really know what to thank them for. So, yeah, coaches need to, if they focus on that, then you've got a relative measure of how much you can charge someone in the industry, for how big the problem is, right? And then you'll be able to test against your particular market, like, what they can tolerate in terms of cost. It's not just like wild fucking prices. And I know you guys recommend, and I do too, like, start on the lower side of things, an increase. There's no point in going out to market like, I'm going to charge fucking $5,000 for my 12-week online program. Awesome. Awesome. Unless you're like proper nails at sales, like, unfortunately, the market's like, it is saturated, right? And I don't mean that in terms of like, well, there's too many people and you shouldn't be an online trainer. I mean, saturated in the generalist portion. There's like, if you just put in Google online personal trainer, you'll get millions of hits, right? If you go online trainer for men, yeah, that refines it down a little bit more. If you go online trainer for dads, it refines it down a little bit more. So, and then you expect, because there's less hits, you expect to pay more for it because there's less choice out in the marketplace, right? Like the fragrance I've got on today. I smell manly as shit right now, and I know you won't be able to experience that through the podcast from watching this video, but like, I want to smell different to all the other guys out there. I don't want to smell like fucking, what's that purple one called? Proper cheap Paco Rabanne. Ultraviolet, that's it. And sorry if that offends anybody, right? Because at one point in time, like, ultraviolet obviously was pretty cool, but now it's like one of those fragrances. If you want to smell like Hugo Boss or whatever every day, like everybody else, that's totally fine. But you don't pay much money for that fragrance because everybody's fucking buying it. If you want, the Creeds, and all of those sort of brands, people can't afford them, and there's much less market for it because it costs like £200-300 for a little bottle where you get about 10 squirts out of it. But guess what? You got something that no one else has got. So, you've got to test your prices. Start off low. If your marketplace is saying on every phone call you're having or every meeting you're having, they're just buying, like 10 out of 10 people are buying, hey, guess what? You can probably afford to increase your price a little bit, and high ticket is subjective to the audience and the marketplace, most definitely. And the more results you get within your particular niche, the more you can probably charge again, because now you've got a lot of social proof and you don't need to do a great deal of selling because, your audience or your current marketplace is actually telling everyone else why they should become a part of, this amazing thing that's unfurling. So yeah, there's a lot of things for people to consider. When they go online, they start pricing, what they do. Now, on the emotional side of things and people feeling like what's ethical or not, what isn't ethical is the fact that And maybe there should be some more stringent onboarding for trainers, right? Maybe, like a doctor, they have to swear an oath, right? That they're going to like preserve life, right? They're going to keep people, in optimum health and stuff. Maybe there needs to be some sort of like personal trainer oath, right? Because it's serious, right? People are just handed lives on a plate, or you can just start up a gym, go get a qualification for a few days, and all of a sudden you're just like stretching people, getting them fucking underweight and all that sort of stuff, giving them fucking advice on diets. It's like a lot of the time people have a more intimate relationship with a trainer who's only been through this amount of training in comparison to a doctor. And I'm not saying doctors are fix-all, by no means. It's like a trainer's like a preventative, I guess. But maybe be like, I swear that I'm going to preserve life and people in awesome health and, keep away from keto or whatever, I don't know. But when it comes to the emotional side of things, we all buy based on emotion, right? It's all based around emotion. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the most switched off, emotionless guy or girl out there. It's all purchases are based on like filling our space with something that we feel we require to become like a different version of ourselves, to improve upon who we are, to give more to our situation. Now, you can't fully enroll somebody in their own transformation until you've shown them where they're actually at. Like, I've been using the analogy like cards up on a table, for a while over the last few days, because like I played cards and I was like, I can see everything. I can see everything in this situation. So you turn all those 52 cards up and you're like, oh, no one's got anything to hide here. You can see everything, that's happening. So it's not until you get to that point with a client, and that's turning over all the fucking stones of all the dirty, dark secrets, all the stuff that they've perhaps not even been sharing, with their loved ones. It's not until you get to that point, it's almost like therapeutic for the other person as well. We don't claim to be therapists unless you are a fucking trained therapist, but it's just having that real raw, honest, come back to the honesty thing again, raw, honest conversation with someone. And if that person does break down into tears, that's for them to wear. That's for that person. That's not because you've wanted them to fucking cry. Absolutely not. There was this thing, again, you've probably heard it. There's a thing going around the industry for a while, like, unless you make someone cry, they ain't going to buy. It's like, what a load of fucking shit. What a load of absolute crap. You can show someone their current situation. It may or may not elicit tears, but there are other ways like people express, their emotions. And unfortunately, if you really want the impact, that you want in the industry, and you want to change people's lives, because most of us, when we come into the industry, we're just like, fucking, that guy's doing it down the road. I've seen this guy doing it online. I could do a fucking better job. I'm going to change lives. I'm going to do this, that, and the other, and before you know it, you can't really afford to pay for anything because you're focusing more on just spending as much time as possible with people, like being needy and like, oh, I'll help you with this and I'll help you make that diet plan and this, that, and the other, and you have zero fucking result. So there's got to be people have got to invest financially, because most of us, at least over in the Western world, right, like the monetary attachment is imperative. Like, we literally were brought up and conditioned to believe that, like, unless you're making money, you're not worth anything. So when people are spending all their days and hours making money, they've got to take a portion of what they believe is their whole self and put it into, that transformation. That way they're invested, not just with money, but they're invested psychologically, emotionally, the full lot. So there's charging that price where it's maybe cusping on, out of someone's reach. But that's where payment plans and, things like that come into place. But yeah, there's got to be that, that emotional, got to be that emotional buy-in. And I've been on both sides. Where, I'll stand at the desk talking to someone about, classes, and I'll give them the price. I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. You'll feel awesome. Cool. All right. Thanks for the information. See ya. And they walk back out the gym again. All right. And on the other side of the table, where, you listen to someone's initial problem. You don't solve it, because if you micro solve problems while you're talking to somebody, you're basically like giving them little hits of dopamine, and they're just like, and they feel good to the point where they're just like, I don't need to be on the phone with you. I don't need to be in this conversation right now. Yeah, I'm going to take your advice that you've given me, and my life's going to be fucking awesome. If you're doing that to people, do you think that person really gets the fucking transformation that they want? Do you think they really get the result they've been talking about? Absolutely not. Absolutely not at all. So you need to bring that person into your space, take them through a proven process, emotionally elicit all those things out of that person so they can see themselves what their current situation is. And then you have to be honest again. You have to be honest with them. And after you've got all those things, you've got to give an accurate diagnosis. You've got to say to that person, like, hey, we actually can't help with this. My recommendation is go see this person in the industry. Go see this person in the industry. Because if you're a great trainer and you've been involved in the industry for a while, or maybe you're part of remote nation group and things like that, there are going to be other people that can serve that individual. And then it's your obligation to, like we were saying earlier, talk that. But if you can help them, show them. Explain to them, how it works. How do I get started? Tell them the fucking price of it. Enroll that person. Look after them. So, yeah, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that go on. When you start bringing someone into that, into that sort of space of, I was £2.75 a class, and then I was selling results for thousands of pounds. And I can tell you, it felt better. It felt better to charge someone that, because actually the money became irrelevant. So if you've got a great process to take somebody through, you and them don't even focus on the money at that point. The focus is on the result. And let's be honest, right? That person that's spending £2.75 a fitness class, they will be perpetually stuck in a weight gain, weight loss cycle for years and years and years. I looked after women. That's what I did. That's what I specialised in when we were in the studio and stuff. And some people come into me, they're like, oh, for the last 15 to 20 years, I've been struggling with my weight. I'm like, well, that's got to end now. How much money have you spent over the last 15 to 20 years? Can't even count. Tens of thousands of fucking pounds. I don't know, 30, 40 grand. I'm like, it's going to cost you $2,000 to come and work with us, and we stop all that. We stop 15 years, 20 years of suffering and, bad pattern behaviour, we get you in a place where this happens. And you can't deliver, and I know I'm going on now, but when you charge low prices, right, you can't deliver exceptional service. You can't deliver exceptional platforms and, have great staff working for you and stuff. You just can't. The resources aren't available. Okay? £2.75 doesn't buy someone the ability to, I send little gifts, off to clients that come and work with me. I send it, I Amazon Prime and books, from what I've heard their problem is, so they can be consuming stuff. I send them little T-shirts and fucking hats. I got this hat from Randall Grizzle, a grateful hat, all that sort of stuff. That's the experience. But now we're talking about, more advanced ways of running your business. But you can't have that level of impact that you want unless you start charging. I'm not saying you have to charge tens of thousands of fucking pounds, but you have to charge more than what you're charging right now for sure.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on, man. I think that chunk of advice there is absolutely invaluable to anybody listening, because it's really all about just being a real person. And I think one of the big things that I picked up from what you said there was, when you've got that experience to be able to relate back to someone, and be able to understand them, that's where you become, not just a great coach, but a great salesperson in the service industry, because you've got to remember that's the industry that you're in. So yeah, some awesome takeaways that I've got there. James, you got anything to add, man?
Yeah, I think people get it the wrong way around sometimes. They think they're helping people by charging them less money and getting just more time with these people. But they're not really, because in the back of their head, like, think about it. If you're a personal trainer right now and you're listening to this and you're not able to pay the bills, you know, what are coming in every single month, you're not able to take your family on holiday, you're not able to do the things that you want to, let's be super honest, you care more about that than you do your clients. Like, you do. As much as you'll talk about, oh, I care for my clients, you don't. You care for the people who are absolutely in your inner circle, your family, your closest friends, and being able to spend time with them. So until you start to earn enough money, you'll never respect your clients enough. Like, this is the thing. So you have to start to increase prices, so you now have the certainty financially that you truly can be honest and start saying, I really do care about impact. And if you do care about impact, how are you going to solve the world's problems by charging $2.75 at the local leisure centre, compared to actually creating a personal brand of scale where you increase the prices and now you get invited onto the stage? Because if you're just, like Rich says, a generalist who's sitting there just charging these low-end prices, you know, £30 a session, £40 a session, how are you different from anyone else, the thousands and thousands and thousands of trainers? You're not, right? You're in the exact same boat as everyone else. You're never going to be invited to go stand on the stage at Body Power and deliver that speech that you keep telling yourself you want to get to. You have to become that, like, almost celebrity status, that authoritative status. It's all about positioning, going from generalist to specialist to authority to celebrity. So where you can sit and hate on Joe Wicks being like, oh, he doesn't know anything about fitness, he understands people, and that's why he is now, like, seen in the UK to be, like, leading the health and fitness sort of industry, whether you like it or not. And you've got to detach your ego from that and start going, hang on, if I actually do want to serve people, I actually have to put myself first, just like you'd say to a client. You have to put yourself first in the short run to get yourself the certainty financially, so you don't keep dreading it, that you now take more risks and you can actually start to have more impact. And it's that shift, and it really frustrates me in the industry how people are like, oh, high ticket people are all these, like, con men, they're this, they're this, they're this. It's such a bad way of viewing it, because it's just not true. And we just have to switch our mindset around and go, like, well, the people who do this actually probably have more impact. They have more opportunities. They create a better life for them and their clients. So I'm going to stop talking right now, because I'll end up going on an absolute rant. Rich, take over from me, quick.
No. You're perfectly right, dude. Perfectly right. I know the three of us, you know, and everyone in the remote nation share very similar, you know, takes on exactly what you just said. But I guess, you know, what you were saying before about, you know, my diverse experiences, you know, from being very young, you know, up to this point. I guess that's played another huge part in the person that I am. You know, getting to experience, you know, you know, the real fucking shit parts of life where, you know, at times couldn't even afford a birthday present from Pound Stretcher. That's you know, that actually fucking happened one year. You know, and being scared and running away in the middle of the night, you know, with the fucking car packed and your two baby brothers and your mum, you know, to the point of where, you know, I went across to San Diego and I was like riding a Ferrari, you know, making loads of money and taking British Airways flights where I had like fucking sexy pillows and like I got up on that British Airways flight, I kid you not, and I was like, oh, excuse me, you know, where can I buy some food? And they were like, have you just got up out of your seat to buy food? I was like, yeah, sorry, I'm a bit hungry. They're like, no, you just press your buzzer and we bring you free food. And I was like, all the food on this flight is free? What? I was like, this is nuts. It's amazing. Like, oh, yeah. You can have anything you want, drinks, food. I was like, wow, this is proper crazy. I actually went back to the very back of the plane, and there was like huge amount of space, and you have like huge amounts of space, you know, like as individually as well. I was like stretching and stuff, and I was like, you know, and you guys have had this, and I'm sure for those that are listening, you all have this, and this is all like subjected to your own lives. But you have those moments where you're like, am I really experiencing this right now? You know, because I'm a like fairly humble, I guess. You know, I'm a real fucking dude. You know, like I've got fucking t-shirts with holes in, and you know what I mean. I own like 2 pairs of jeans. You know, like I only bought some fucking new boxers like the other week, like 4 pairs. And the boxers that I'd done before that, I bought from Turkey, and they cost me like £3 for 10 pairs. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to like sell things for high amounts of money because I'm like a greedy bastard. I want to see transformation in people. I've experienced it myself from investing money in places where I couldn't afford at the time, in all honesty, but it pushed me out of that place where I was to work harder than I was working before, or to at least be open-minded enough to learn from other people that are already doing the stuff that I want to do, you know? So, yeah, the experiences, I don't know whether that just comes with, again, that person's individual life, or whether it comes with time as well. You know, I don't know. Maybe someone else would be able to, you know, chime in with that. But, you know, I'm 31, and I guess you could say I've condensed quite a lot into a short space of time, and not on purpose, you know, kind of by accident, I guess. Maybe that's my own little destructive patterns that I'm going through, like jumping in and out of things, you know, plenty and stuff, until I've actually found the thing that, you know, I actually really love doing. You know, it gives me a semi on, you know, when I talk about what I do with people all the time, and that I'm really great at as well. Because that's something that's really hard to wear for a lot of trainers and a lot of coaches. You know, it's like actually owning up to what you're really great at. You know, I guess that's a huge part of a coach's transformation, because it's easy to be a generalist. Let's be honest, it's easy to sit there in the pool of everyone else and charge the same amount of money, just like, oh, I'm a trainer, yeah, and just, you know, put some ab shots up on Facebook and all stuff like that. You know, we've all fucking done it. I did it, shit. You know, like I had Facebook covers for ages where I was just like, fucking giving it all this stuff, you know, like, okay, look how shredded I am. But well, until you come out of that pool, this is the scary part, because when you're no longer a generalist and you're a specialist, there's no one else out there with you. You're kind of out there on your own, or maybe with the 2 or 3 other people that are doing that. You know, like I bought the vegantrainer.com when I was a vegan, and I was looking around like, who else is actually doing this? And at the time, I think I was maybe only like, there's maybe only a few guys, you know, in the whole of the world that were doing that. And I shit you not, I had to block people like on my Facebook page. I was getting so much hate messages, you know. So that's something you have to almost be prepared for if you are going into being, you know, an expert or specialist, because not everyone's going to agree with you. Like Joe Wicks, right? Put himself out there, you know, to be in his power, and then, you know, people are like, "Oh, is this Joe Wicks guy? He's not got any qualifications. He's always eating fats." Hey, guess what? He still gets people results. People love him, and people follow him. You know,
this is the point I'm trying to make about putting people first, is that you say you want to put people first, but you're not willing to be like just bashed around yourself. You care more about you than you do for other people, because this is the situation. If you truly own a specific area of the market, you're going to get shit, because you have to be polarizing. It's the only way. The only way for you to become like of real impact is you'll have to create polarity. Like, you just have to. If you look at anyone of real scale in any industry, they're very polarizing. So for you to do that, I mean, like, yeah, I want to help people, but you're not, though, because you're putting yourself first. And this is what George was saying about like the ego thing, is that you care more about you than actually helping the person opposite. Because if you offend them, it's like, oh my God, now it's all my fault. It's like you have to make this switch and be honest with yourself. And it comes back right to the start where he talks about honesty. It's like a lot of the time we're being dishonest, thinking that we're being honest, by not going to that next level where we need to find someone's true emotion, by not actually willing to like own a niche, not willing to be polarizing. That's actually the root cause of the problem. So instead of like looking around at other people and being like, oh, you know, that person's not a good fit for me, like they're just not right, blah, 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 they can't afford it. Look internally first and see what you're actually doing, and then everything will start to change. So yeah, that's sort of my final take on this one, I think.
Yeah, and so Rich, you've come on quite a journey, and right now you've sort of found your niche right now, and you've been crushing it with us, with yourself, and so you've got a couple of things lined up, right, to launch, to share with the world. Do you want to just bring up
what we do the self promo?
Yeah, mate, that's it. Self promo. Any particular events do you have lined up?
Oh, well, actually, now you mention it, George. So no, but I'm genuinely excited for November. So November, I'm heading over like the 22nd or the 23rd over to Spain. I can't. What's the name? What's the name of the town that we're doing that?
Denia,
right? So you guys have got your your villa over there, your remote Fit Pro villa and stuff. And I know you're hosting the online startup workshop, and I'm absolutely over the moon that you guys wanted me to come over and do the evening, half a day of training to all these lucky Fit Pros alongside Ben Coomber, who's doing, I think he's doing a full day or more than a day, right? Yeah, he's gonna be with you guys for a while. So you, George, Sam, you're all going to be there. And my specialism, over at that workshop in Spain is going to be very much on the transformative, sales system, and showing trainers like why they should be adopting it, if they want the impact. If they don't, like, that's totally cool too. Like if you want to carry on doing what you're doing, but if you want that real separator and people to remember how you communicated with them, because it all comes down to experience. Because if you give them the generalist experience, in a few years' time, you'll have been like, oh, that trainer, what was that person's name? Oh, I can't quite remember who they were and what they fucking did. Whereas if you've got that thing in someone's head of like, fucking hell, I can remember that afternoon, when I spoke to that guy and shit, brought all sorts of stuff out of me, like what I need to be doing with my life and like shit that, I'm sure that's changed stuff. Even if it's just the conversation and they didn't actually invest into your program. And then with my own stuff, I'm actually starting next week. I'm going to be launching a 6-week bootcamp, transformative sales system, where I take, coaches from probably selling like a generalist, communicating like a generalist in the business and how to, take people or their, niche clients through a very, set and proven system, so they can, number one, have huge impact with that person, those group of people, but also to be able to, raise your own level of income. So then your business can carry on growing. Because if we're not growing, what are we doing? We're dying. So if the business ain't growing, like, what's the point in having the business? If you're just looking after the same 10 people every year, you're not doing any service to the fucking health and fitness industry. Yeah, so you've got to get better at learning how to take people through your process. So rather than being like I was, I first started in the health and fitness industry. Here, take a flyer. It's £2.75 a session. Do you want to come and join? Oh, thanks for the information. See ya. Take them through something that actually gives them an experience, gives them some impactful change, and actually, pays you as a trainer and a coach as well, so you're not forever scratching around, trying to make money or getting loans or having to take second fucking jobs and all that sort of stuff, So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And the other thing I was going to start doing as well is I want to write a book, in actual fact. I want to write a book or some sort of guide or something. So everything that I've been doing in person, put into like, a step by step or something like that. I don't know how you'd get my waffly nature onto lines and paper and words though. So I'm going to have to find someone that can like actually translate this Yorkshireness onto paper.
So the guys do want to get hold of you, mate, and hear more of the waffle and more of the good stuff as well. What's the best social platforms to reach out on?
Oh, definitely Facebook. Yeah, definitely Facebook. I use LinkedIn quite a lot, and recommend coaches to use LinkedIn as well to capture the imagination and attention of their own audience. But yeah, if they want to get me on Facebook, yeah, just search Rich Wellington. Got a blue T-shirt on, wearing a big smile like I am right now. Probably like the same haircut as well, in all honesty. But you'll see like photo cover says like transformative sales system on there. So yeah.
Awesome, man.
Specialist,
awesome.
Not generalist.
Yeah, man. It's great to see. So the workshop, just one final time, which Rich is referring to, the online startup workshop. It is in Spain. It's on the south coast near Alicante. It's the 24th and 25th of November, 2018. And we'll be showing you how to create an entire business in a single weekend. So if you are under 2.5K right now of your online business per month, and you want to have these systems, you want to have the support, the sales, the marketing, everything you need, you're going to have the Remote Fit Pro team. You're going to have, so Sam, George, and I, you're going to have Rich there coaching on sales and Ben Coomber coaching on mindset and how to become an influence in your industry. You're getting absolutely everything. So you can go ahead to remotefitpro.com/Spain-workshop. So Spain-workshop. And you'll see all the information there. And if you've got any questions at all, just throw us an email. info@remotefitpro.com, or just hit us up on social media. Rich, anyone will point you guys into the right direction. So that is all from me today. Rich, we've got one final thing to ask you before we wrap this one up, and that is, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom. I don't think freedom's real. If I'm like putting my own actual twist on it. So when people talk, like, so if we use business as the context for this one, right? Let's make a business where, you know, you don't have to be there all the time and doing this, that, and the other. And it's like, you could do that, but if your genuine mission is to have the impact that you're wanting to have, then you'll end up working outside of your scheduled hours anyway. Like I have, you know, like a strict diary, right? But you can ask anyone in the house, the boys, you know, the missus, you can ask them, like, do I ever stick to it? Do I shit? Right? So freedom doesn't exist within making more money necessarily. Freedom exists within doing the thing that you truly, truly love and you're passionate about. Because then you're free to express. So that's what freedom means to me. If we're boiling it down, then is the ability to be self-expressive in everything that you do, you know, and be your genuine, authentic self, rather than dressing it up, wearing a mask, you know, pretending to be something or somebody else, or, you know. So that's freedom, man. That is freedom. Yeah, true self-expression. Be your authentic self.
Love it, and that's why we are recording this interview on a Sunday.
Exactly. You guys messaged me yesterday. Hey, we need a podcast. Do you want to fucking come on? I was like, I would have done yesterday. In all honesty, I would have done yesterday because we just moved into the house. You know, like we're moving stuff around. But like I've got up on a Sunday morning. You know, like I didn't have to. I've got literally nothing scheduled today. You know, apart from you guys. But this has been an absolute fucking joy and pleasure.
Indeed, it has. Rich, thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time on this Sunday morning. Thank you.